Some 40 years ago, Rabbi Vorst was about to begin his work as an emissary, a Chabad rabbi in the city of Amstelveen, Holland. He called the Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe in Crown Heights, right before the Passover festival, hoping to get a blessing. After receiving his blessing from Rabbi Hodakov, he hung up the phone, but moments later, the phone rang again. He picked it up to hear Rabbi Hodakov on the other line. He could tell that he was being communicated to from the Rebbe himself. The Rebbe told Rabbi Hodakov to pass on a message to Rabbi Vorst, that he would like Rabbi Vorst to go to a certain town and bring with him some matzah, some wine to deliver to Jews that are there. Rabbi Vorst was very confused. He knew the town well, and he knew very clearly that there was not a single Jew that lived in the town. So he voiced his concern to Rabbi Hodakov. Rabbi Hodakov remained silent, and Rabbi Vorst knew who is he to second guess the Rebbe's advice and guidance. So, even though he had much to do in his own community, and it was about a 3-hour travel to go to this town that the Rebbe had requested, he humbly took the advice, the guidance of his teacher, his master, the Rebbe. He got the matzah and the wine together, rented a car, filled it with gas, took off early in the morning, brought with him enough food to eat during the day, and made his way to that town. After arriving, he started going door to door, asking if anyone knew of any Jews that lived in the community. Each and every one of them said, "Sorry, don't know of any Jews here. Sorry, don't know of any Jews here." This continued throughout the day. Before you know it, he looked at his clock. It was close to 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and still he hadn't found a single Jew or anyone that knew of a single Jew that lived in the area. Nevertheless, he decided he would put a deadline on. At 6 p.m., he would go home. He carried on going. By 5:45, no luck. He decided to stop by the gas station to fill up gas. And as he was there filling up, he decided to ask the gas attendant if he knew of any Jew, as a last strong effort. The gas attendant said to him, "Well, actually, I think the butcher might be a Jew." Well, Rabbi Vorst couldn't believe it. So, where's this butcher, he asked. He says, "Oh, he's about 5 minutes down the way." About 5:55, Rabbi Vorst opens the door to the butcher shop. The butcher behind the counter looks up and sees this rabbi come in, and immediately faints on the spot. Rabbi Vorst quickly went to attend to the man. As he came to, he brought him some water, and he helped him seat himself in a seated position in a chair. And he said, "I gotta ask you, are you okay? That was a very strange reaction to seeing a rabbi. What's the deal?" So the man began telling the following story. He said that his mother had been in the Holocaust and had lost much of her family in it. Afterwards, she decided that being a Jew had never done her that much good. That it would be better if she took her one son and they moved to an area far away where they wouldn't again have to deal with the suffering and the pain that she had experienced with her own family in the Holocaust. Before she died, he said, a few years back, she made me promise that I would remember that I was a Jew, that I would marry a Jewish woman and the like. However, as time passed after my mother's death, well, my financial situation got a little tougher. And before you know it, a certain priest started coming and visiting. Noticing my difficult situation, he extended his help, and he was there for me. And slowly but surely, he began having talks with me, missionary type talks. He started putting in my head the idea that God had abandoned his people, that there was no longer that covenant, that testament between him and the Jewish people, and that instead there was a new one. And he started trying to convince me to convert to Christianity, arguing that maybe it would be better for me to be a part of a community, that surely there would be more support if I was one of them. And as time went by, he started making headway. Eventually, just a few days ago, 3 days ago, I decided that, you know what, I'm thinking about it very heavily. Just give me 3 days, I said to him. And for those 3 days, the last 3 days, I begged God, I cried to God, I prayed to him, give me a sign that I shouldn't do this. Give me a sign to remind me that you're there, that you're with us, that you still love the Jew, and that you are there for the Jew. And that time of that promise of 3 days was to be concluded at 6 p.m. He says, and then at 5:55, On the last day, all of a sudden I look up and I see you come into my store. Now you can understand why I fainted. About 25 years passed, and Rabbi Vorst happened to be in the old city in Jerusalem by the Western Wall for a family simcha, a festival, a ceremony. And all of a sudden a man, obviously a religious man, came and tapped him on the shoulder. He said, "Rabbi Vorst, do you recognize me?" He turned and you couldn't quite place the individual. He says, "It's me, that man that you saw 25 years ago, the butcher. Now do you remember?" Rabbi Vorst couldn't believe it. He turned to meet the man's wife, children, all being raised in a completely Jewish environment, members of Jewish community, studying in yeshivas and seminaries, and it hit him really hard. Just the extent to the care and the love that the Rebbe had for every Jew, and moreover than that, the foresight he had to see and find even a single Jew in the middle of nowhere when he needed the Rebbe the most. That continues to be the case for every Jew today as well.